By 1933, nearly 15 million Americans were unemployed. That's roughly 1 in every 4 workers. Imagine being born into a world where your parents couldn't afford food, shelter, or even shoes. The Great Depression wasn't just a bad economy, it was a daily survival struggle. Being born in the US between 1929 and the early 1940s meant inheriting a life of hardship, uncertainty, and despair. But it also meant being part of one of the most transformative eras in American history. Most people imagine the American dream, but during the Great Depression, that dream was shattered. Children born during this time grew up amid breadlines, bank failures, and collapsing farms. What happened then? Families lost everything overnight when 9,000 banks failed between 1930 and 1933. Dust Bowl storms choked the Midwest, displacing over 2.5 million people. Malnutrition soared. By 1932, many schools had to shut down lunch programs because they couldn't afford food. And worst of all, there was no social safety net. Welfare, food stamps, and housing programs didn't exist until later in the New Deal. Imagine growing up in a Hooverville, a makeshift town made of cardboard and scrap metal. One young girl, Virginia Foster Durr, recalled her father having a nervous breakdown after losing his job, and her mother sewing clothes from potato sacks. African Americans and minorities faced compounded discrimination, often being the first fired and last hired. Yet even in poverty, resilience grew. Young kids helped support their families, selling newspapers, shining shoes, or working in dangerous jobs. This generation, sometimes called the Silent Generation, would go on to fight in World War II and rebuild America. One of the most heartbreaking yet inspiring stories is that of Woody Guthrie, a Dust Bowl refugee who used music to document the pain and hope of everyday Americans. His song, "This Land Is Your Land," was a quiet protest, written while wandering with migrant workers looking for food and work in California. Through stories like Guthrie's, we see the soul of a generation that learned to create art, family, and community from nothing. Being born during the Great Depression meant growing up fast, witnessing economic collapse, and surviving through grit. These stories remind us that hardship can breed resilience, but they also show how fragile society can be without support systems. What would you have done if you were born in the 1930s in America? Do you think the Liberation Day tariff will trigger another Great Depression? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.